Hey, it's Allie, and I am back talking about the next phase in the process of putting together my Week in Life album for 2017. As I was working on this today, one of the things I was really thinking about was how much I love the fact that memory keeping affords us this opportunity to do things in so many different ways, to tell our stories in so many different ways. Some people love playing with the product and that dominates their process. Other people love taking the photos and that dominates their process. Other people love writing the stories and that dominates their process. And then for most of us, I think we probably do a combination of all of those things. And so as I was working on getting my photos printed, which was the next step for me, and what I decided to do is I literally went through the entire album. It took me probably, I don't know how many hours total, but over a couple of days, not full days, but you know what I mean, a couple of days working on it to fill all of my pockets with photos. So for me, that ended up, I have a couple different ideas that are gonna happen in some of these beginning pages, but essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 photos. Now, I decided and made the decision for myself that I was not going to include every photo that I took. And that's often the case for me in this project, but many times in the past I've included a lot more photos. But this time I felt like what I wanted to do was I focused on the words this time. And so I made sure that I got all the words in from my day, but I don't have to include all of those photos. I don't have to make it work in a way that includes all my pictures. And that for me is my personal choice as I go about the process of putting this album together. So you may choose something different. And if you do, you can always, take photos, adhere them back to back, punch holes in the, right here in the rings to be able to add more. But I've decided that I am going to just work with filling in those pockets. These ones right here I'm going to show you at some point here. One of the things I want to do, I had a couple days where I had a series of pictures. And so I'm going to be using washi tape and I'm going to make this a flip up because I have 1, 2, and then 3 to go along with it. Now, a couple things you might be wondering straight off. First of all, you might think I'm crazy that I've already filled in all the pockets and what am I going to do with the cards and where are all the products going to go, and you might have some questions like that. So originally I had put these cards, there's one for each day of the week in the kit. I had them in a 3x4 pocket, but because I decided I wanted the photos to be the focus in these pockets, I took it out, and what I'm thinking that I'm probably going to do is I'm actually going to cut them out, and that is kind of my plan with a bunch of these cards, probably cutting them out and turning them into more of an embellishment rather than a card. So finding photos where these things can fit on there and I'll just be cutting them up or punching them out. That's my initial thought. And sometimes I do that, sometimes that's my approach, and other times my approach is that I have more cards, or these cards could easily be saved and used in a different project, like Project Life, or on a traditional layout. The main thing for me is that when I am creating kits like this and when we're picking products, I want them to be universal enough to be able to be used in lots of different projects. So even if you get them and you don't find that they work for you in this project, they may work for you in another project, and the collection of products that you have are all universal enough to be able to work together. So I will be using these, I will be cutting them out as we go along here, but first what I wanted to just kind of walk through the pictures. And so I told you already that basically that's what I did. Another question I bet that people will have is, how do you choose which ones not to include? And for me, it's pretty easy, and I think that for me that's because I've done this a lot, and I'm also not a super particular, well, I take that back because maybe I am a super particular person, and my brand of particular means that I make quick decisions. So when I am going through And knowing that I need at least 2 photos that are going to be 6 by 8, that are the last 2 pictures for each of my days, I picked those first. I picked out which ones I wanted to use. They were not always the things at the end of the day. For Monday and Tuesday, they happened to be the end of the day, but some of the other days you'll see in this week, they weren't necessarily the last things. They were just the pictures that I wanted to blow up. And then the other pictures I chose, were just ones I liked, or ones that I felt like showed a bigger view of life overall throughout the whole album. So I don't have like one of me eating breakfast every day. I have one where I'm making dinner on one day, or I'm going grocery shopping on one day, or Simon working in the yard, or Anna's soccer practice, or all the kids showing up. It is not, I just didn't include every photo, and I'm totally cool with that. And like I said, you're gonna make that decision for yourself. So here then I have like the picture of Anna in the dress. That was my dress when I was a kid. And then just flowing through, like I picked one picture from work, and I picked one of Simon sitting at the table, and one of yoga, and the one of me in the car. It was kind of ones that I liked, or ones that were important to me, or ones that I felt like moved the story forward. Now, one of the big things that I definitely noticed for me as I went back through selecting which photos I was gonna use is that this album is really about me. And the other people in this story are kind of the supporting characters, which is really how we live our lives, right? So when I go into this project from the beginning, I am not trying to capture every single thing that my kids are involved with, or every single thing that they're doing. This is a story that I am telling from my perspective. So as I put the pictures in here, as I selected ones, it's a book about me, and it's a lot of pictures of myself that I took, with the self-timer on my camera that I asked somebody else to take, or I shot into the mirror like that. It really is kind of the story of where I am at in my life right now. Now, some years when I've done this project, I have a couple things I want to say about that. Some years when I've done this project, it's been way more kid-centric, and there have been more kid activities, or more kid-focused things happening, or just more images of my kids. And sometimes that's been because my kids were here during my whole documenting time, whereas this time my kids were here half the week and they were with Chris the other half of the week. So that shows what that part of my life looks like. So when you come to Friday, there's no kids around here, except for in this case, Anna ended up having to go to the doctor. So I picked her up, and that's why she reappears again. Another thing that I am looking at when I am deciding what pictures to choose is I have some sense or some consciousness about different angles, having some that are straight on, having some that are shot from above. Again, lots of the self-portraits where I'm setting up my camera and having that there. The time of year here for me includes lots of outdoor pictures, the big picture of taking Anna with me to one of the local nurseries, and then lots of pictures of me reading, because that's what I do often during my break time when the kids are not here, as well as hanging out with the cats too. So and then coming into Saturday, same thing. So I had just enough pictures to be able to fill in these pockets. I definitely could have included more, especially in the beginning of the week, but I'm just deciding to edit it a little bit and to pick less, and I think that that's okay. And again, for me, this time, the words are kind of taking the starring role, and then the photos are supporting that story in their happy little pockets here, just sitting in there ready for me to add some embellishments. So let's talk a little bit about what that process is going to look like next for me. So my plan is, again, that I'm going to use the time roller stamp, and I'm going to be stamping the time on the majority of these pictures. One thing that is awesome for you to know is that these great little flags that were included in the kit, one of the embellishments, the timestamp fits perfectly on there, especially for days when maybe your photos are dark. I'm not planning on using any white ink. Probably I do have a white pen that I really like to use, which is actually this one right here, this Posca pen. So I may handwrite some onto the photos photos themselves, but these flags are gonna work great for that. The flags also have things that are printed on the back, like this one has a music note, but if you don't have, if music isn't playing a part in your week in the life story, you can just flip it over, right? And you can stamp on there. This stamp set fits perfectly on there as well if you're wanting to have something specific that you want to add. Another thing that I'm kind of thinking about is using the what says notes right here and stamping that onto some of the pictures where I may want to add more reflective style journaling. The journaling that I have in these on my main daily story pages, that's more in the moment, right? Or it's kind of the end of the day reflection. Well, now that it's a couple weeks later, I have different kinds of stories that I can tell when I look at the photos. It's kind of my reaction to what these photos look like now. And so that invites another thread of storytelling to be able to be present on these photos. So I'm going to be adding times. I'm going to be adding, I'm going to be cutting up some of these cards to be able to add as embellishments. I will be finding homes for my rubber embellishments that I am excited to be placing on some of these photos. Using the numbers in some way or another, as well as the chipboard shapes. I'm just kind of looking at the different embellishments I have over here, as well as these. I always love these, and I will find matches, you know, places that these can be added onto the photos. So my photos, most of them will have the time on them, and then they'll probably have a word or phrase sticker or one of these perforated strips on there. The word or phrase sticker package that we had available, this wasn't included with the kit, but it's available. We have it back in stock now, I believe, and you can order these. These cover a bunch of different themes related to stories that you would tell in Week in the Life. So things about me, you know, me, myself, and I, my routine, pieces of my life, the people that are in your life are on the black sheets, places that you would go like shopping or volleyball or checking emails or things you do, activities are on the orange ones, activities around the house or places around the house, pillows, laying on the couch, living room, cleaning day, homebody, coffee table. These are very basic ones. Those are ones on the grayish color. And then food related stickers are included on the this teal colored sheet. So that's all, those all come together in one bundle, and you can easily purchase those from the shop, and I'll be adding those onto some of the photos as well. So far I've really shown you just kind of the process that I go through. So starting with, you know, what did I do first? Well, first, the big thing for me was kind of just doing the title page, right? And figuring out how did I want to begin this album? What was going to be my intention? And you know what, it's interesting to me because I did start this talking about we, right? Of who we are. This album is about we because the journaling includes everyone. But like I said, one of my reflections is really that this album is a lot about me because it's told through my lens, and it's showing what I do on a daily basis and how do I interact with all those different people that are included in my life. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to show you here today in this video itself, I'll do another video after this that shows kind of the process of embellishing more specifically, but I wanted to just show you where I'm at right now, which is my photos are printed. So, you know, there are people out there who could totally be done at this point and say, I have my words, I have my photos, I had a few little embellishments. You know, I did use all of these big acrylic pieces from the kit. These are in the top of each pocket. This is another one of those ones where I'm going to show the opening of these flowers over the course of the day. So it's going to go like this, and I'll show that in the next video as well. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about picking and printing photos here in this video itself. So I will, like I said, I will be entering my next phase now, which is actually adding the embellishments into the album itself. One other thing I want to show you is that I've had lots of people ask about how, you know, how am I going to use these large chipboard alphabets. So I'm a big fan of these kinds of products in general. Sometimes they end up being a great match for the project, and other times they're still cool, but they're not perfect. And so we do trial and error on all of these kinds of things, but one of the ways that I'm going to use them is I'm going to do our initials here in the inside of the album. You could absolutely do it on the outside, but I like I don't like to decorate the outside of my albums. That's not really a part of my own personal process. So I'm going to be adhering these inside here. I may find other homes for some of these other letters, maybe as initials, those kinds of things. I'm not sure yet, so I'll know more about that as I get into the phase of actually embellishing. I definitely plan on using the quotation marks somewhere and or the circle with the quotation marks, but this would also be a great jumping off point just for a traditional layout. Having that at the top of the page with the journaling right below it, like I love that idea as well. So we shall see where I end up next. But if you have any questions about this, please feel free to let me know. Again, one of the things I did want to talk about too is the printers that I'm using. For the 6x8 photos, I am using the Canon MG7720, and I'll link these below, printer, and I print the 6x8s on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, and then I cut them out. The 4x6 prints I am printing on the Epson PictureMate PM400. That is what I use for all of my Project Life photos. Anything that's smaller than a 4x6, I use that. You can use the Canon that I have to print the 6x8s. You can use that for the 4x6s as well. I just kind of have a process where I've always used the Epson PictureMate for my 4x6, and so I just kind of go back and forth between the two of them. I also like kind of having both printers running at the same time. I feel like that speeds up the process for me a little bit because I can be editing one, hitting print, then I'm editing the other one, hitting print to the other printer, and they're both helping me move forward in the project. I print on Epson premium glossy photo paper in both printers. That's been the one that I've used in the Canon printer, and it's worked great for that as well. So like I said, let me know if you have any more questions, and I will be back soon with probably more look at a finished album in terms of having all the embellishing done and that sort of thing. So thanks so much.